everyone, and welcome back to Let's Get Queered, the channel where I talk to you guys about gender and sexuality. Also, I did not plan this, but there's a rainbow thing right behind me and I totally didn't realize that. It's perfect. Anyway, if you see me looking down, it's because I have a bunch of notes and stuff on my computer over here, and as you can tell from today's title, we're going to be talking about the trans military ban, what it means, what we can do, some background, and just some information regarding. This is not meant to be a political video, it's not meant to be anything like that. I'm simply educating you and letting people know what we can do about it. Most of this information comes from a New York Times article, which I'll link down below, as well as some other articles that may be helpful. So some background: in 2016, the Obama administration passed a policy which would allow openly transgender citizens to serve in the United States military. This went into effect as of January of 2018, and in 2019, this year, it was reversed by the US Supreme Court, and it was actually 5-4 with conservatives in the majority. So what exactly is the military trans ban, or the trans military ban? Basically, it generally prohibits openly transgender citizens from serving in the United States military, in any branch: Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, all of that. Any branch in the military cannot serve if you are openly transgender. Those who are currently enlisted are allowed to remain in the service, but from everything I read, it kind of is a little bit up in the air, because it says they're still allowed to serve in the military, but then others say it's kind of more of a case-by-case basis, and then even further, it states that they will be discharged. Anyone openly serving in the United States military will be discharged. I'm not sure which is the case. Like I said, there's a few different answers regarding that. But those willing to serve as their gender assigned at birth are still able to enlist. So if you're willing to go by what you were assigned as at birth and not be openly trans, you can serve. So why was this ban put into place, you may ask? Well, according to my resources, it was based on military judgment, based on professional military judgment, and it was essentially put into place because, and this wasn't verbatim in the article, this is just basically what they're saying without saying it. Put into place because apparently transgender people cannot ensure the most lethal and combat effective fighting force in the world, which is confusing to me because I assumed anyone serving in the military received ample training to serve their very best and fight for us in their very best way. But I could be wrong. Maybe you know, they give openly trans people different training and they're not as effective for some reason. So what does this mean? And what this means is openly transgender citizens are not able to enlist in any branches of the military. Eventually, this is where this comes in, eventually those already enlisted will be discharged, although it's unclear when. Again, I'm not entirely sure if that's the plan, because it seems their language used and stuff like that is a little bit confusing. So I'm not sure if it's going to be a case-by-case basis, if they're going to be allowed to stay, or if they're going to be discharged. I don't know. Or if they're going to be discharged across the board. So I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what's going on with those already enlisted. There's a few different answers going around. So what happens now? Litigation continues, and litigation is basically just law stuff, talking about it, discussing it, going through the legal shit. I'm not a lawyer, so yeah. But the policy will still be put into place while this happens. So while they're still debating it, going through litigation, all that stuff, it will still go into effect, unfortunately. Several organizations and legal teams are working towards getting the Supreme Court to review, or at least review what's going on, because it essentially violates human rights, and for that exact reasoning and all that information, refer to the article down below. I didn't want to just come here and just read an article off to you because that's pointless. So there are organizations working really hard to get the Supreme Court to review their decision and hopefully overturn their decision, but for now it's still going into effect. It's unclear if the ban happened as soon as they passed it or if there's a date when it will go into effect. Again, couldn't find that information. But I'm not going to assume anything. But yeah, it's kind of unclear as to when exactly that's supposed to start taking place. And now, I'm going to share some of my thoughts aside from this. I think it's really unfortunate, it's really disgusting. If you are a trans person, just know you're completely valid, and just because the government says you can't fight for your own country does not mean you're any less of a person. You deserve every single right that anybody else deserves, and it's really unfortunate that such hateful things are coming out during this time, especially when there's so many amazing trans military veterans and officers and captains and all that stuff. There's really high up people that are openly trans, and there was a quote, I can't remember it verbatim, but it was basically like, how are you going to fault them for being honest with us about who they are and make it so they can't fight for their country? Like, that's bullshit. And it just kind of sucks, and I am disgusted and horrified that such a thing was done. Again, this isn't supposed to be a political video, but it is a human rights issue, and I'm pissed off about it, as I'm sure everyone else is. Well, not everyone, but yeah. So what we can do is we can sign a petition. We can sign petitions. There is the main petition that I found will be linked in the bio. I already signed it. Please sign it. And then the other thing you can do is call the Supreme Court and complain and voice your opinions. Now, the number I got, I don't know where exactly it goes. I haven't called it yet. I do plan on it. But the number I found will be linked in the bio as well. And then the last thing you could do is just speak out, stay angry, and stay talking about it. Can you guys not stay angry, stay talking about these things? Let your trans friends know you love them and care about them, and just spread love as much as you possibly can in this incredibly dark time that we're in. And yeah, there's some extra resources down below that I thought were important and helpful for people who may be affected by this. Yeah, just know that you're completely valid, you're an incredible person, I'm sure, and just because the government refuses to recognize your human rights does not mean you don't deserve them. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a student of law or anything. I am just presenting you the information that I was able to gather through searching on the internet. Again, there will be additional articles down below if you want to do some reading for yourself. And I guess let me know how you feel about this. Are you affected by this? Did you want to serve in the military? Is this a major issue for you? Just let me know what you're thinking, but try to keep it, you know, not hateful or anything like that. And yeah, so hopefully this will change, but in the meantime, like I said, we can sign petitions and all that stuff. Anyway, thank you for watching another edition of Let's Get Queered. Sorry, it was a little heavy. There will be a new video on Tuesday where I will be discussing non-binary in depth. God willing, nothing additional happens. And then I think after that, well, I'm not really sure. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, if you liked this video, please tell your friends, spread the word. Everyone needs to get queered, and like and subscribe and all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay queered.